What's up, Tailgaters? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tailgate Nate, and today we're going to be going through my preseason top 25 for the 2020 college football season. I'm really proud of it. I think you guys will like it. Just a fair warning, this is not a prediction for how I think ESPN is going to rank these, and this is not a final prediction on the final rankings at the end of the season. No, this is my personal top 25 rankings as of the date recording this. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. All right, guys, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the top 25. Here it is. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. So at number 25, I have Virginia Tech. And for every team that I say, I'm going to go through and tell you their ranking in returning production. Virginia Tech is 6th overall in returning production. That's really, really good. Virginia Tech's supposed to have a really good season this year. They didn't lose too much either, which is why their returning production is so high. But they're getting Hendon Hooker back at quarterback, and of course Trey Turner at wide receiver. The little 1-2 punch on the throwing and receiving end. So Virginia Tech should be pretty good this year. Their scheduling, they have to play Penn State, and then of course they're in the ACC, which is not a tough conference. So that's why I have them at number 25. Number 24, I have the Cincinnati Bearcats. They are 31st overall in returning production. Of course, you're returning guys like Desmond Ridder, Michael Warren on the offensive side. And then I think Cincinnati really, really hopes that James Wiggins comes back at safety. He was out for, I believe, the entire season last year. I think it was like an ACL tear or something. But they're hoping to have him back. And then with Luke Fickell's coaching abilities on defense, Cincinnati could again be really, really good this year. So watch out for the Bearcats. Number 23, I have Tennessee. I think a lot of people are really, really, really high on Tennessee this year. And I get it. Tennessee's got a pretty good recruiting class. It's nothing to write home about, but it's pretty good. They're 50th overall in returning production, and I really think the only notable guy they're returning back, and this is big for any team, but they're returning their quarterback, Jared Guarantano. So I'm hoping Tennessee can live up to all the hype, but I had to put them this low because they're in the SEC. It's supposed to be really competitive. I think they have to play Alabama and Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. So Tennessee should be a fun team to watch, but I had to put them this low. Number 22, I have Iowa State. This is the team that everyone's also talking about. They're 52nd in returning production, so not good, but not bad either. They're returning their quarterback Brock Purdy. He could be a sneaky Heisman candidate, and they're also returning running back Breece Hall, who I don't think gets talked about enough. I think Breece Hall could be a 1,000-yard rusher this season. He's pretty shifty in the backfield, really good. Thing that worries me about them is their wide receivers. I think their defense is pretty good. They're in the Big 12, obviously, so defense might be a little bit of an issue just because of the Big 12, but their defense usually pretty good. It's that wide receiver core that I'm a little bit worried about for Iowa State, so I had to put them here at number 22. Number 21, I have the Boise State Broncos. They're 62nd overall in returning production. And I think the biggest thing, Boise State's always the team. Oops, sorry, guys. Boise State's a team that's always there. They're always here. They're always, the giant killer. They're in the Mountain West, not a tough conference. I'm pretty sure that they're going to be ranked to start the season. But the big thing is going to be that quarterback battle for Boise State. I think Hank Bachmeier comes back. He was their quarterback last year. But then I have read that Chase Cord can battle for that starting quarterback spot. Again, Boise State doesn't get as much respect as they should. They're in here because of reputation, and I don't like to do that, but it's what you got to do. Boise State, number 21. So now, as we move into the top 20, you have the Michigan Wolverines at number 20. And I think a lot of people are going to say, Nate, what are you doing? Michigan's at 20. Listen, I think Michigan gets overranked every year. No, this is not biased because of Ohio State, but Michigan, I really do think just gets overranked every single year. Jim Harbaugh disappoints every year. And Michigan is 125th in returning production. That's the 6th worst in the country. A big part of that is because they're losing their 1-2 punch at running back with Zach Charbonnet and Hassan Haskins. They're also losing Donovan Peoples-Jones. They're losing their center. They're also losing Uche, the linebacker. Michigan's losing a lot, and they're not really returning that much. I believe Dylan McCaffrey is going to be their quarterback next year. Nick Eubanks is coming back at tight end. And then you have Nico Collins and Ronnie Bell coming back at wide receiver, which, they're okay. They're no Donovan Peoples-Jones, but Michigan, I don't know. Michigan could sneak up on a lot of teams this year, but for right now, I got to put them at number 20. Number 19, I have North Carolina. North Carolina is a team that everyone is getting high about this year, and I'm on board with that. They're 18th overall in training production. The big thing for North Carolina is they're returning Sam Howell and their entire offensive line. The entire offensive line coming back with a quarterback, they're going to be insane. They lost so many one-possession games last year. They easily could have been an 8-4 team last year. They lost so many close one-possession games. Sam Howell has weapons all around him, and the defense is pretty good too. They don't have to play Clemson this year, so they could make a shot. I'm not promising anything, but they could make a shot at the playoff this year. I'm just saying. Number 18, I have USC. They are 5th overall in returning production, but their recruiting class is not great. I had to put them down here at number 18 because their recruiting class is not great, and the schedule is a little bit brutal. They have to play Alabama. I believe they also have to play Stanford, and Stanford is kind of okay, but usually a good game to watch, and they have to play Notre Dame as well. So, of course, your returning quarterback, Keaton Slovis, lots of weapons around him. The defense is usually pretty good at USC. I don't want to overrank USC quite yet because I'm just not sure what they're capable of. Of course, since we don't have spring football, it's not that easy to tell. So for now, USC is going to be 18. 17, I have the UCF Golden Knights, and I think a lot of people out there are thinking, what, is UCF back, or are you crazy? You rank them this high? And I really do think UCF is going to be back. They are 38th overall in return production, and I'm kind of counting on Mackenzie Milton being back at quarterback. I know that's not a huge guarantee, but if UCF can get Mackenzie Milton back, they're going to be loaded. They already have Amari Rogers and Trey Nixon out there for wide receiver. They're going to be loaded. Their defense is usually pretty good. They bring in some good safeties and defensive backs. So UCF could be on top of that group of 5 mountain yet again. Number 16, I have Minnesota, only 86 in their returning production, which I get. Of course, you're losing your wide receiver Johnson. You're losing Antoine Winfield, the safety. Minnesota took some big losses, but they are bringing back Tanner Morgan and Rashad Bateman. So their wide receiver core is going to be really good. Rashad Bateman can kind of lead the young wide receivers through there. I'm not sure about their running situation, but I'm sure Minnesota can figure it out. PJ Fleck's a good coach. And then their defense, they're going to have to replace Antoine Winfield somehow, but the rest of the defense is, for the most part, coming back. So Minnesota should be a fairly good team this year. All right, as we move into the top 15, you see I have Texas there at number 15. They're 21st in returning production, and I think everyone's thinking, is this the year that Texas is finally back? And I'm proud to say that I think, yes, this is the year that Texas is finally back. You got Sam Ehlinger coming back. You got Joseph Asai coming back. I believe he's a defensive end or linebacker. Could be a super high draft pick. And, of course, they lost a lot of weapons. They lost Devin Duvernay. They lost some defensive guys. But Texas brought in a fairly decent recruiting class this year. I know Tom Herman hasn't done great yet, but I feel like this is the year that we can finally say Texas is back. But I had to put them at 15 because, again, you never know with Texas. Number 14, I have Oklahoma State. This is the team a lot of people are really high on as well, and I'll tell you why. They are 9th overall in returning production. They're returning their 1-2 punch at running back, Chuba Hubbard and LD Brown. Those two guys are amazing. Of course, Chuba Hubbard was the leading rusher in the FBS last year. LD Brown is such a good power back. He reminds me a lot of Carlos Hyde when he was at Ohio State. He's not as big, but he's very, very powerful. They're returning their quarterback, Spencer Sanders. And, of course, A.J. Green, the cornerback, is coming back for Oklahoma State. And if you look at the schedule, of course, they have to play everyone in the Big 10 or everyone in the Big 12, But I really do think Oklahoma can make a run at the Big 12 title. I really, really think so. Bedlam is going to be insane. That Texas game is going to be insane. I think Oklahoma State is going to be one of the more fun teams to watch in the 2020 season. Number 13, I have Texas A&M. So Texas A&M to me is a little bit of an interesting team. Of course, they're in the SEC. The SEC is going to be so competitive this year. They're 16th overall in returning production. Kellen Mond is coming back. The entire linebacking core is coming back. Of course, they lost Justin Matabuike. I believe he was a defensive end. So they're losing some production on the defensive line. I think most of the offensive line is coming back as well. Um, I don't really know the recruiting class all that well. I think it was fairly okay, just like most of these teams in the 25 to 11 range. But I don't know. Texas A&M could be a really fun team to watch, and they could also disappoint really, really hard. So I'm very, very anxious to see Texas A&M get out on that field. Number 12, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and I know everyone's going to say, well, they should be lower or they should be higher. I think 12 is a good spot for Notre Dame. Their schedule is really tough, though. They have to play Clemson. They have to give Wisconsin. I gave them a little boost because of their schedule. Notre Dame just really tough schedule, so I gave them a little bit of a boost there. Saying number 12, 83rd in returning production. Of course, they bring back Ian Book, but they lost their tight end, and I can't remember the wide receiver's name right now, but Chase Claypool. They lost Chase Claypool. I think most of their defense is coming back for Notre Dame, so Notre Dame should be a fairly decent team and could make a run at a playoff. We'll have to see how well they do once we get into the season. And to round out before we get into the top 10, I have Auburn at number 11. I think a lot of you guys out there are going to think I'm overranking Auburn, and you may be right, but I have felt really good about Auburn year in and year out, and I think this year Auburn really can make a run at this SEC title. 78th in returning production. Bo Nix coming back at quarterback. Of course, you have Jatavius Whitlow coming back at running back. Seth Williams back at wide receiver. Those three names right there should put fear in any opponents. Those are three absolute weapons on the offensive side. Their D-line is all coming back, except, of course, for Derek Brown. Their defense should be pretty good. I think their recruiting class is fairly decent. So Auburn should be a very fun team to watch next year and could really challenge Alabama. And I believe they have to play Georgia as well. All right, so here we get into the top 10. Here's where I think things get a little tricky. You could move these teams around a lot, but I feel very confident in what I have going on. So here it is. This is 10 through 6. I have Wisconsin number 10. I think a lot of you guys are going to be surprised at that, but I feel good about Wisconsin. Of course, they lost Jonathan Taylor, but they're 34th overall in returning production. Jack Cohn is coming back. Kendrick Pryor is coming back on the offensive side. Jack Sanborn is coming back on the linebacker. Of course, you lose Jonathan Taylor, but Wisconsin is known to get running backs in good shape, so I'm not too worried about their running game. It's their defensive line that worries me a little bit, and it's their lines. Their offensive line, defensive line that worries me a little bit, but I think Paul Chryst can figure it out with Wisconsin. And I think Wisconsin we'll see in the Big Ten championship game again. Of course, the Big Ten West kind of wide open, but Wisconsin could be a very, very good team next year. Number 9, I have the defending national champs LSU. You got to think, what? LSU, the defending national champs, aren't even in the top 5? It's okay. It's okay. But listen to this. 127th in returning production. That is terrible. Terrible. Of course, they lost so much. They're losing Joe Burrow. They're losing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They're losing Justin Jefferson. They're losing a lot of guys on defense. They've lost so much production. Their quarterback should be a fun little battle to watch there, but two big names on why LSU's in top 10. Jamar Chase and Derek Stingley. Derek Stingley, now that Jeff Okudah is in the NFL, is by far, in my opinion, not my opinion. I think in the entire college football realm right now, Derek Stingley is the best cornerback out there. What a pickup for LSU. The man has ball skills like I've never, ever, ever seen before. I think LSU could make another run at the playoff. I think they'll be in the conversation all year, but they lost a lot, and I cannot wait to see how LSU rebounds, so I had to put them here at number 9. Oklahoma, I have at 8, 82nd overall in returning production. The quarterback battle should be fun. 3 different quarterbacks in 3 years for Lincoln Riley, and he's going to have a 4th. It's either going to be Spencer Rattler or Tanner Mordecai. I'm kind of leaning towards Spencer Rattler. His name has been mentioned a little bit more. Tanner Mordecai just kind of got thrown in recently, but Lincoln Riley has said that there still is a battle going on. Ronnie Perkins is coming back on the defensive line. He's going to be suspended for the first 5 games. I can't remember what for right now, but once he comes back, Oklahoma should be fairly good, and I don't think they get into like the meat of their schedule after 5 weeks anyway. So Oklahoma should be, again, a very fun team to watch, but I don't think it's going to be that good of a year for the Big 12. I think Oklahoma's just been declining a little bit, and I don't know. I think the Big 12 could be a very fun and competitive conference to watch, but I don't like their shot at making the playoff. Oklahoma is the highest rated Big 12 team on my list, and they're at number 8. Number 7, I have the Florida Gators. I think a lot of people were hyped on the Florida Gators last year. I was not one of those people, and they proved me wrong time and time again. So I had to give them respect here and put them in at number 7, 61st overall in returning production. Kyle Trask coming back at quarterback. Trayvon Grimes coming back at wide receiver. Of course, you lose the cornerback. Again, I can't think of his name right now off the top of my head, but you lose him. Very big loss. Florida's defensive backs are going to be good, but their schedule is favorable for Florida. I haven't really taken a close look at their schedule. I'll do that in a later video. But Florida's schedule favors them very, very heavily. So Florida could be a very fun team to watch and actually make a shot at another national title this year. And then number 6, I have Penn State. It was very hard for me to put Penn State at 6 compared to 5. You'll see the other team that's at 5 here in a little bit. They're 47th overall in returning production. Of course, you got Sean Clifford coming back in the 1-2 punch at running back with Journey Brown. And then his backup, Pat Fryermuth, the tight end, is coming back. So Pat Fryermuth, the tight end, he was a freshman a couple years ago. I think he'll be a junior this year. He very good, very big tight end, got great hands, can block really well. The problem with Penn State, though, is I think he's going to be their main target because, of course, you lose KJ Hamler, who was their main target. Now Sean Clifford's going to have to figure out a new wide receiver to go to. Tight ends are not all that reliable at catching. I think Pat Fryermuth can be one of those guys, but Penn State just has to find a wide receiver. And other than I think they can give Ohio State and anyone else in the Big Ten a good run for their money. And then, of course, you have Micah Parsons coming back at linebacker, and Penn State's defense is usually very, very, very good, one of the best in the Big Ten. So very excited for what Penn State brings to the table next year. All right, before we get into the top 5, how you guys liking the list so far? Comment down below what you guys are thinking. And without further ado, let's get into the top 5. And at number 5, I have the Oregon Ducks. I think a lot of you must be saying, what? Oregon at 5? Are you kidding? All right, listen. I know where you guys are coming from. They're only 89th in training production. They're in the bottom half of the country. Not great. They lost Justin Herbert. Not great. Tyler Show is going to be their new quarterback, but listen to what they're returning. CJ Verdell is coming back. 1,000-yard rushes in both of his seasons, and I think he'll do it again this year. The wide receiver core is coming back. That's big. That's big for Tyler Show. You're going to have some experienced wide receivers out there to help the young quarterback grow with the Oregon system. Yeah, Penei Sewell, who possibly could be a top 10 pick in next year's draft. He's an offensive tackle, really good, can really protect that quarterback along with the entire offensive line. Oregon's offense loads. Then when you look at their defense, their entire defensive back core is coming back, which is big. Their D-line and linebackers kind of worry me a little bit. That's why they're at 5 and not higher. But I think Oregon could be a really, really, really good team next year. And I think the Ohio State-Oregon game is going to be a very fun game to watch. All right, at number 4, I have the Georgia Bulldogs, 59th in returning production. So they're in the top half of the country. Of course, you have Jamie Newman coming in at quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see how he fits in with Kirby Smart's system. Of course, you lose DeAndre Swift, some weapons out there on wide receiver. But Georgia's defense, if I got one word for Georgia's defense, it's loaded. Loaded. Georgia's defense is good year in and year out, and nothing is going to change that this season. I think Georgia's defense is going to be stout like it always is. And I think that Georgia-Alabama game come week 3, very, very good game, and they could easily rematch, and I think will rematch in the SEC championship game. Speaking of Alabama, they are my number 3 team, 88th in returning production. I believe Mac Jones is going to be quarterback. I know there's another name floating around out there, but I think it's going to be Mac Jones. Dylan Moses coming back, linebacker. It's really it for the defensive side on notable players. Of course, Alabama's defense and Nick Saban, of course. He'll get their defense going. Najee Harris is coming back at running back and Devontae Smith at wide receiver. So not Najee Harris was the big key coming back. He could have easily gone to the draft and been a first-round pick, but Najee Harris coming back. What a runner he is. I don't have enough to say about Najee Harris. Great runner. Devontae Smith, of course, good route runner. He can mess you up with his feet or with his hands. I think Alabama could make it back, and I think will make it back to the college football playoff next season. Number 2 is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now listen, I think everyone is going to be chasing Ohio State and then the team that's at number 1, which I'm sure most of you can guess. They're 93rd overall in returning production. Ohio State, of course, big Justin Fields is coming back. Could beat you with his arm or with his legs. Amazing quarterback. Him and Trevor Lawrence, of course, up there for the Heisman. And then you get the running back transfer. So I think after J.K. Dobbins left, everyone was kind of questioning what Ohio State's run game was going to do, if Master Teague was going to live up to the hype. Well, Trey Sermon is coming at running back from Oklahoma, and what a pickup that was. Trey Sermon coming in to play for Ryan Day at Ohio State. I think enough said right there. Your linebacker core is all coming back. I believe Pete Warner and company are coming back to help. Of course, you lost a lot of defensive backs. You lost Jeff Okudah, Damon Arnett, Jordan Fuller, all are gone. But Sean Wade is coming back, and I believe we're bringing some good recruits. And then as far as wide receivers go, Chris Olave is coming back. Garrett Wilson is coming back. And then we're bringing in one of the top recruits in the country in Julian Fleming. So Ohio State should be very good next year, and I think will make it back to the playoff for the second year in a row. And of course, you all guessed it. You all knew it was coming. Here it is, number 1, Clemson Tigers. Not that great in returning production, but that's because they lost T. Higgins and Isaiah Simmons, their best player on each side of the ball. Big things for Clemson. They're returning their quarterback. They're returning their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. They're returning their running back, Travis Etienne. Returning wide receiver Justin Ross, and their defense, Dabo Swinney knows what he's doing on the defensive side of the football. So their defense should be, I'm a tad bit worried about their defense. But I think because of losing Isaiah Simmons, it's not really more so the defense, more so that little linebacker core. And I think the front 7 is going to be very good. And of course, Clemson doesn't really have a challenge this year. They have to go on the road to play at Notre Dame. Other than that, I think Clemson's schedule should be fairly easy, and I don't see them tripping up anywhere. So Clemson is my number 1 seed. All right, that's going to do it for my preseason top 25 for the 2020 college football season. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please do leave a like. Also consider subscribing, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought. Tell me your preseason top 25. Just leave some good positive messages down there. And as always, play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.